one of the most famous footballers, of course, from the area was George Best. George Best went to the Mount Merrion Sunday School. He was a bit ahead of me as far as age. George was about maybe 11 years or so older than me. But my father actually had the privilege of teaching him in Sunday school. George himself testified to it in a book that he wrote, and he talked about that time when he was associated with Paisley's church, so to speak. And George and his sisters came to the Mount Merrion Sunday School. One sister, Barbara, was very friendly with my sister Olive, and Carol professed faith when she was in the Mount Merrion church. My dad taught Carol in Sunday school.
Remember, Carol hadn't changed even the looks now, many years later.
He was a smart lad, you see, and he played with my son at the wee bit of field opposite our door, him and other boys, Willie Barnes and all the lads that grew up at that time, and they played in that wee patch. And one night they were all dry, and they came over to my door for a drink of water, and they were getting drinking water out of bottles. And here I gave George, he says, "Mr. Key, may I have one?" So I give him a glass, and they were all saying, "Oh, he gets a glass." But anyway, George was a very nice lad and very well mannered.
But when I went to Craigie Primary School, it used to be a big event when George would be coming home for the weekend from Manchester United, and we used to hear about it first through the grapevine, and we would head down to Burren Way, number 16, to wait for George to arrive. And even in those days, in the late 60s, there would have been a media scrum, TV, all the newspapers gathering to try to get an interview. I remember this one day, I was with my friends down in Burren Way, and George arrived in a taxi and was whisked into the house really quickly, to our chagrin, because we wanted to talk to him. I remember going to the door multiple times, knocking the door, and his father, wee Dickie as we called him, coming out and saying, "Look, George is not coming out. Would you just go away?" And we would go away for a wee while and come back again, hoping to get a glimpse of our hero through the window or whatever. And Dickie came out at this one point and he said, "Look lads, George is not coming out, he's tired. But if I show you his European Footballer of the Year trophy, would you just go away?" And we said, "Yes, great, class, we'd love to see it." So we brought this, I think it was a ball out on a statuette thing, and we all got to hold it and touch it, and we were all made up. I thought this was the greatest thing. Those were some of the memories we had growing up in the housing estate.
George Best, the idol of Northern Ireland and scorer of 3 goals in his last international match here at Windsor Park against Cyprus. Banks being driven left, and was that a foul? The whistle hasn't gone. Best, and a foul given. Fascinating piece of football thinking by Best. Piece of sheer pertinence, but brilliant.
And George had a very godly grandfather called George, for whom he was named.
Withers.
George Withers. He's buried near my grandparents out there in Saintfield, 2nd Saintfield churchyard. I know that George Best was under a lot of godly influence as a child, and while I don't know for sure, and only the Lord knows for sure, but I believe that it is very, very likely that George came to know Christ in his closing days. There was a Filipino nurse, apparently, who read the scriptures to him every day and prayed with him when he was in the clinic in London. And his sister, George's sister Carol, has testified since his death that she believes that her brother was converted, that her brother was saved. And if that is the case, then you could certainly say that the Mount Merrion Church and his own godly grandfather had a large part to play in that.